Hey everybody, and welcome to another Jamovi tutorial. In this tutorial, we are going to explore pamlj power analysis module, and specifically in this video, we are going to explore the proportions, how to calculate sample size, power, and anything else that you might be able to do with proportions. So this is a proportions test a priori power analysis video. All right, so how do you add the pamlj module to your Jamovi? Well, as you can see, I've got all of this up here. And the great news about pamlj is it gets put under this power, right? Where you have these two normal distributions as you would if you like used gpower in the past. And if I click on here, you can see I've got all of the pamljs. So again, this video is about proportions. And another power analysis module is called jpower, but it's only got t-tests. So today we're going to focus on pamlj and proportions. So how do I get the power? Well, we go up to modules. We go up to Jamovi library or manage installed. Actually, they take you to the same little window that pops up. Although, ooh, interesting. That looked weird. Okay, that's a little bit better. Not entirely sure why this is not loading properly on this screen, but there you go. And we're not missing too much. There's just a little search icon here next to the word search. Anyways, available is what you want to look for if you don't have this module installed on your Jamovi. Here is that JPower that I was talking about, but you want to look for pamlj. And you know what? I'm just going to search because there are so many, as you can see. So we search for PAM, and we get power analysis for linear models. So if you click on here, if it says install, update, or if you haven't installed already, then you'll see the word install and do it. So let's open up proportions here. Okay, so as you can see, we've got the proportions power analysis. And like I said, you can use this much the same way as you can do in gpower. It's quite comprehensive when you think about it. And interestingly, for my purposes, and specifically teaching purposes, I find the output here in the results window to be a lot more cleaner than gpower. But like I've done in my other videos, we're going to talk about doing an a priori power analysis to calculate sample size first for independent samples, one sample, and paired samples. And then we'll explore the sensitivity analysis and show you the power and parameters plot and any other of the options that we can add. But first, what I want to do is add the explanatory text so you can see what it is that we are looking for. And for each of these modules, you can click on this pamlj web manual, and it takes you to the pamlj.github.io site to explore the added benefits with screenshots and things like this. So it's sort of a companion to this video that I am making, right? So we have this info. This info is always available. You can hide it or show it. The explanatory text will tell us what we put in here into our effect information and parameters, what it is that is going on for this information down below. And then we have a good set of effect size inequalities here that will explain more or less what would happen with our odds ratio, or if we decide to do a difference between our expected proportions, or if we decided to do relative risk. So odds, difference, or relative risks. And you can see that the only thing that changes when we are looking at our effect size is the effect size values in this table as opposed to the sample size. The sample size is always going to be the same for any of those options. So we'll come back to that in just a little bit. So let's go ahead and talk about the calculation. So again, we're going to do calculate n, but like I said, you can do power and effect size. The effect size calculation is useful if you've got your tests of the proportions, the binomial, for example, and you want to know what the effect size is. That's got it all built in here. So let's go through this before we change any of that. We're going to start with n, but we're going to go through here. So info. Please select the aim of the analysis. Calculate n, target effect size, and minimum desired power is what is needed to compute the required sample size. You can also calculate post hoc power, so power after you've completed your test, by having your target effect size and the sample size from your test. Then the calculate effect size computes the minimally detectable effect size given your sample size and the minimum desired power. In all cases, you set the type 1 error rate, which is the p-value or significance level cutoff. We're not going to change that from 0.05 at all. In all cases, you can decide whether the test will be carried out two-tailed or one-tailed. We'll usually keep it as two-tailed, but if you change it to one-tail, you'll have a little bit more power in that one tail, which will reduce the size of your sample, will increase the power that you have given a sample size and effect, and will increase your effect size if you have a minimum desired power and a sufficiently sized sample. The analysis is carried out based on binomial distributions. That's the hypothesis test. That's the statistical test that is used for this proportions power analysis, and arcsign transformation. The default effect size is the odd of the proportion in input. So proportion 1 divided by 1 minus proportion 1 divided by proportion 2 divided by 1 minus proportion 2. So basically the proportion divided by its inverse divided by the other proportion divided by its inverse, okay? The options panel, you can choose the differences. That's what the delta symbol is down here, which is just P1 minus P2, or the relative risk, which is proportion 1 divided by proportion 2. Results are equivalent. And that's what this sample size here is, because we already have information in. And I'll go through this particular test in just a second. So we have, because I checked explanatory text, we have the power analysis parameters here. So let's go through this and talk about this output. Okay, so our expected proportion of sample 1, because we are doing 2 independent samples, is 0.6. So we're saying 60% of the trials are going to be one versus another, and then the expected proportion of group 2 is going to be half and half, or 50%, or 0.5. Group size is grayed out because we're not doing that. Now, the relative size of groups is really important. We want to keep that at 1 to maintain equal groups. If we change this to another value, it's going to change the relative proportion of those groups. And we want to maintain equal groups. That way we'll get an even number for sample size. We just divide that number by 2, or what is in this output here. You can see that 1038 or 1038 divided by 2 is 519 per group. This relative size of groups is the same as G-Power's allocation ratio N2 divided by N1. If that ratio equals 1, then you know that N2 divided by N1 were the same numbers in the numerator and the denominator. Now our parameters here, minimum desired power. pamlj always defaults to 0.9. Well, now, while some folks in the statistical world are thinking to themselves, okay, well, 0.9 leaves us with a 10% chance of a type 2 error, missing an effect, we want to sort of balance that. So I'm going to change that to 0.8, and you're going to see how the sample size here changes based on basically our probability of a type 2 error increasing double, right? And so as you can see here, the info goes away every time you make a change, by the way. You can see that we only need 776 now with 388 per group, as opposed to 519 or whatever it was. Like I said, we're going to leave it as 0.05, but let me show you what happens if I change from the default two-tailed to a one-tail, which we're saying that our expected proportion, or maybe the difference between these two, is 0.1. You know, if I were to change this to the difference, 0.1, rather than odds or relative risks, you can see that we even need fewer people because we have a slightly more power in our directional hypothesis. That would be 610 or 305 per group. So it really just depends on how you're setting up the hypothesis here, right? Two-tailed is a little bit more conservative. One-tail would match if you have a directional hypothesis. Okay, so that is what would happen here if we decided. And so you can see here in the explanatory text, power parameters are computed for a z-test, because that's essentially what you're doing in a binomial anyways, with effect size odd equals 1.5. And as you can, if you were to run the math of p1 divided by 1 minus p1 divided by p2 divided by 1 minus p2, you would get 1.5 here. Okay, power equal to 0.8, because that extracts, this text extracts these values, and a type run error rate at 0.5, comma, lowercase t. The z-test compares two proportions in two different groups of cases. The proportions are transformed with the arc sign, not arch sign, function before computing the power parameters. And thus we have a sample of 776. If I were to change this to equal 0.5, you cannot have that, right? You need to have a difference with independent samples. So a 2-sample binomial test, you need to have that, right? So this is the one that you're expecting to be the case, and P2 is kind of like your null hypothesis, if you will, right? There's an equal chance, a coin flip, for example, right? So I'm saying that this coin is going to give me 75% heads, whereas sample 2 is going to be the equal heads, tails are going to be 5 heads, 5 tails, right? Or 75% heads, 75%, or 25% tails, or whatever. That is what I would be setting up right here. And you can see that when you have a greater proportion between the two groups, your sample size is much, much smaller. So if I made this 0.51, right? So I'm detecting a really, really, really tiny effect. Not necessarily the smallest effect that you could detect here. I could make this 0.00000001, right? And that would be almost identical, right? But if I were trying to detect a really small odd effect, right? Or difference or relative risk, whatever my effect size is. So you can see here that the odd is between 0 and 1.03. And you can see that we are testing 1.0408 or 1.041. Very, very small odd, which is the effect for a independent samples proportion or binomial. You can see that we need 78,480 people, or a 39,240 per group. Astronomical. Almost entirely impossible and impractical, virtually non-existent, this kind of sample. 78,500 people? No way, right? To detect this tiny of an effect. But if you were trying to do that, if you were trying to detect the smallest effect possible, you would. Convention suggests that 0.1 odd, okay, or 0.1.5, or a difference of 0.1, or a relative risk of 1.2 as the smallest effect that you could look for. If we change it to 0.55, oops, I put another decimal in there. It's going to get very mad at me. Okay, if we change it to 1.1 relative risk, a 0.05 relative risk, or excuse me, difference, or a 1.22 odd, then you can see that we need 3,130 people, or more than 1,500, almost 1,600 per group, right? And you can see that we have a good chance of detecting this effect if the difference or odd between the two is greater than 0.1. 1.29, right? Or in fact, greater than 1.15. Look, 1.22, very similar odd values here. So that is computing, calculating n, right? So you can do this as well for one samples, okay? One samples are very similar to what you would put in for a independent samples, except that P2 here is the literal hypothesized value as opposed to another group doing something else where you're actually collecting data for this group, right? You could say that, instead of 0.5, it's going to be 0.4. And so now we have a difference value. If I show this of 0.15, you can see that we need 346 for this, right? But if we go to one sample and we put those same values in, and you can see that it kept my 0.8 from the previous one, that required sample size. Let's round up to the nearest whole number, folks. So 194 is what we want to do here. Okay, 194, but you only need 100. It's one group, right? So it's 194. The required sample size. This is the exact value. I think the folks that make pamlj could do in making this field showing the same that it shows in here, right? So 194 people to show a difference of 0.1 or an odd of 1.5. Okay, and you can see that would be the case. ES, by the way, is effect size in this group. And then paired samples. Paired samples are the binomial with the same people doing measurements a second time. So that's what paired samples proportions are. Okay, so you put the discordant proportion in, so this is P21, okay? So the smaller of the two, so we'll say 0.1, okay? And the discordant proportion of P12, which is the larger, so we can do 0.4 there. Those are the defaults in what you see, okay? So this would be an odd of 4, okay? And with a power of 0.8 and a type 1 error rate of 0.05, with a two-tailed test, we only need a sample size of 41. Because paired samples, much like all paired samples or all repeated measures, general linear model tests, anything really based on normal distributions, binomial distributions, Z, all of that, repeated measures is always inherently more powerful, and you need fewer people to do those in these tests. Alrighty, so those are the three, and you can see that you can make those changes, you can play with those changes. But let's go ahead to calculating power. Okay, let's do one sample just for the sake of argument here, right? So we're looking for an odd of 1.5, and we have a one proportion. So we have one sample where we're expecting 0.6, so slightly lopsided outcome between the two outcomes, okay? And then the hypothesized value of a 50-50 outcome, right? And so if we have that and only a sample of 50, which is the default here, then and a minimum desired power is what we're calculating, so that's grayed out, an error, type 1 error rate alpha of 0.05, and then a more conservative two-tailed test, you can see that we have very low power. We are probably going to miss this effect with only 50 people. So if we decided, okay, well, we have the money or we have the time to do 50 more people, so let's do that. What do we get? Well, we get a power of 0.52, which means we have a pretty good chance, as you can see, of missing this one. It's like 50-50. We're gonna either miss it or we're gonna detect it with 100 people. Okay, let's say we have money and time or that we're gonna do 50 more people, but that's it. We don't have any more time after that. How much power are we going to have? 0.69. Nice. 0.7, basically. Are we going to detect it? Maybe, right? So our odd value is in the middle of this inequality here. We're probably still going to miss it with only 150 people. It is what it is. That's what we're going to have to do, right? And we're going to have to do it that way. So that is doing a post hoc power analysis. Although the way this is phrased, it's sort of like, all right, if we know that we can do 150 people and we're definitely going to go until we have 150 people, what's our power going to be? A lot of times people do these analyses, these post hoc power analysis after they've collected the data, because then they can put an exact value in here. It depends on the publication about what power you need, what publications are looking for as far as like indicating power, but you got to do what you got to do, right? The other thing that we can do is we can figure out what our odd is going to be. So I'm going to use one sample power proportion, your straight one sample binomial. What gets grayed out here is the hypothesized value, because what we are trying to do is to detect the odd, right? Here is our effect size, and you can see here our odd value is 1.58. I love how the odd ratio is labeled as odd, the odds ratio. And so effect size is 1.58 right here, right? So that is if we use the default value of 0.6, using 150, minimum power of 0.8, alpha of 0.05, and a two-tailed test, you can see the value that we had previously in the last test is the value that we see here. So as you can see in the last one, that our effect size was 1.50, right? And 1.50 places us in this inequality, right? Or 50%, let me click out of that. 50% to 80%, good chance of missing, right? Because our power was like 0.69, right? But 1.58 puts us within this inequality, and that's at 80%. Look at that. Lovely. right? So we have all of that. Oops, clicked away. Now, in my other videos, I showed the power contours and the other plots that you can put here. It's a good way to visualize everything as long as you're making these changes, and you can use log scale or not. Depends on if we needed 78,000 or whatever it was, 48,000. So that's only if you need to use the log scale. As you can see, none of these are changing because the values are not too big. And then you can change the plots themselves and can show the table if you make one of these additional plots. Power by n. Yeah, interesting. So these are the power parameters plots that you can change. And we went through the options already. So that is how you do independent samples, one samples, and paired samples proportions in pamlj in Jamovi. If you have any comments, questions, suggestions, or other feedback, drop those in the comment section down below. Thanks for watching this video. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.